back to Film in Minnesota. I'm your host, Alan Tracy.
I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have Matt Roy joining us today. Hello, Matt.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going good.
Really good. Matt, so excited to have you with us today. You've been a goal guest for us for a while, so we're really excited that we were able to get you on.
Well, I'm honored.
We've got a lot of questions for you, a lot to talk about. But first, to get to know you a little bit and know the life of Matt Roy, can you tell us maybe something interesting, unique, like an adventure that you've sort of been on in life here recently?
Oh, yeah. Adventure in life. Being a parent in the last few years has been quite the adventure. I have a 1.5-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. That's been quite the change of pace for life. It's awesome. It's challenging. It's exciting and frustrating all at once. And then, balancing the work life, which is also extremely crazy along with that, has been, been a challenge in and of itself. So, but it's so cool to watch kids learn and grow, and you're growing with them, and just to see them put things together is, you can make as many movies as you want, but watching kids grow up is like the most amazing thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Did you find that it was maybe easier or maybe a little more difficult being able to navigate the business and how busy that is with having kids like during the pandemic, knowing that your son is 1.5 years? But
well, yeah, it's definitely a new challenge. I mean, before it was, really just kind of me making sure that I was working enough to make enough for myself and get by. And, as a freelancer in this industry and film specific, not so much commercial, you come to points every year where January, February comes around, you're like, oh no, there's no work. Like, it's okay. It's just me. And now, there's 2 other individuals in my life. So it's become, trying to see more of a bigger picture, and having to, okay, I need a 401k, and I gotta get things moving at the speed of light. So,
okay, 401k, IRA, what else? All the 3-letter.
All the things that adults do.
All the things.
All the things. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely posed challenges with scheduling. I do a lot more work from home nowadays, and which is nice. I don't have to be on site all the time. And, but in the last year, we started a studio up north, so it's a 3-hour trek, and then going back and forth. I put a lot of miles on the old Subaru, so. But starting to kind of get my groove with this whole thing, and having to do, figuring it out from home, and how I can manage a studio from afar has been kind of a fun challenge.
Wow. Yeah. Let's start there. So first off, I was going to ask, what do you do? But maybe it's more like, what don't you do? What?
Yeah.
Whichever question you want to answer.
I don't do catering. I did it once and never again.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess the best way to start would be like beginning, right? I started off acting, and that was really a full-time gig for a long time. And I moved back from California in 2016 after going out there and trying the acting thing, and I wanted to do something more, and I wasn't feeling like my soul was being fed from just being an actor and like trying to get every single acting gig that, comes your way. And,
Hmm.
So I really put a focus on trying to make more production up in northern Minnesota, outside of the metro area. And like just this, looking at Minnesota as a whole and greater Minnesota and the stories that are up there and or around Minnesota in general. I just there's so many layers to our state, and I wanted to just sort of pick at that and find things that we could do outside of Minneapolis.
Mhm.
So being from northern Minnesota originally, we started a company, Headwaters Entertainment, and our focus was trying to create more of a workforce in northern Minnesota. And so for the last 6 years, we've been doing that. And recently, beginning of this year, we started Lost 40 Studios and took over a 90,000 square foot stage in Chisholm, Minnesota, and have
Wow.
been working to get that place up and going, and working on some productions that have come to northern Minnesota. We had two in Chisholm this spring, winter and spring, and then we had one in Duluth that we helped with some production services on. So it's been a busy year so far. I feel like
No
I've had the
kidding.
last 2 months kind of to like start working on stuff for the fall, but man, it's been a lot. So
Do you
That's
still? Oh,
oh yeah, I was just gonna say that's a lot, but that's great. You wouldn't expect that from working up north as much, but congrats on you for making film your full-time gig. So
thanks. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I still pick up stuff on the side once in a while, but
yeah.
um, no, yeah, I really wanted to make it a full time thing, and I knew that I, I I wasn't I wasn't getting that from acting here, so I
Mhm.
had to broaden my search, and that was being a PA for a while. That was helping in locations. That was helping in production, and then that kind of evolved into being a producer on some indies up north, um, and some bigger projects in the metro area, and just it's sort of evolved into a position now where I'm head of physical production at our studio, and I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm I'm kind of as a core group, we look at projects that want to shoot in northern Minnesota, and there's some great rebates right now that are up in northern Minnesota.
Mhm.
So there's sort of been a flood of productions that want to come from out of state and some from in state, and we've been helping those productions maximize that rebate by doing these workshops with the Upper Midwest Film Office and helping train crew in, um, and then also developing relationships with vendors out of the Minneapolis St. Paul area so that their resources are available and rebatable in northern Minnesota. So
That's good.
That's
yeah.
awesome. So you've had quite the path, finding your way to what you're doing now. Do you find that you still have interest, maybe still wanting to try other roles and still like maybe include like a little bit of a mixture of things that you've done before? Or are you really trying to just continue moving forward and in what you're currently doing and in your businesses at this point?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in the infancy of our production company. So once we get through the growing pains and try and like really figure out what we are and what we can do, we want to shoot our own films too,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sort of the end goal and ultimate goal is to have an ongoing slot of productions through our studio, and independent of outside projects having to pay the bills. Um, I don't. I feel like I go through an existential crisis a week. So, what do I
Oh
want to
no.
do? In a good way. It's always like, okay, reevaluate, figure out what's next. I still love acting, and I've had some really good opportunities this year with the productions that have come to town, and being cast in some of the productions. I feel like my relationship with acting is different from that in like producing. It's a whole different approach. Um, I'd I'd love to do more of it. I sometimes just feel like I've neglected that art for a long time.
Hmm.
And thinking back to doing improv and going to classes, I haven't done that in years. So it's like
Hmm.
I I want to do more of that, but I also know that I've committed to doing this, this drive for production up north, and
Hmm.
the training of a workforce and teaching people that may or may not have had the opportunities to work in film, and giving them sort of the experience on set has been really rewarding, and I want to continue to do that. And um, I might broaden a little bit and do some acting classes up north. I don't know. I'm still throwing some things around. Just because it's fun. It's using the experience that I have and giving a little bit of that to somebody else. It's rewarding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not that I'm an expert.
Well,
I don't know.
I
I would
I
say around here
preface
you
that.
probably are.
I preface that before every workshop. Like, don't take all of what I say to heart. So,
everyone's writing notes down.
Matt
stop
Roy
writing.
said.
Yeah. Um,
So, can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that Headwaters Entertainment has been able to help, like, bring in and actually make happen? Um,
well, so Headwaters Entertainment and Lost 40 Studios are
mhm,
two separate companies that we have.
mhm,
Headwaters Entertainment has worked on about 3 or 4 different productions over the years. We helped facilitate some stuff for a movie called Sanctified. It was a Western that was shot last year.
mhm,
My business partner, Nick, directed that and wrote it. Um, Bow Brothers was a project that we put together in 2020 during the pandemic, like just a bunch of us that were bored filmmakers, not doing anything.
mhm.
We're like, let's just go shoot a ragtag indie with
Well,
no money up in northern Minnesota, and hope everything goes all right.
So how'd
Which
that go?
you know, there were challenges, but for us, it was really like, okay, let's write a script for no, like we knew we didn't have any money, so you write a
mhm,
script for what you know and what you have. And the resources that we have in Minnesota were, I knew people from growing up. A good friend of mine, Phil Hermel, was just like elated at the idea of having this project up there, and was really, yeah, I mean, he practically made the movie for us with all the
mhm.
locations that he gave us and the resources that he gave us. Um, but we wrote a fall movie in October. It was like, yeah, this is perfect. You're gonna have, it's about 2 brothers that go on this trip to trim balsam boughs, and it's sort of an annual thing. And they've been, separated for many, many years, and now getting back together and hashing some things out. The beautiful fall colors. 3 days into production, it snowed 1.5 feet,
Oh no.
and it didn't go anywhere. So
Oh,
we had a
Good
winter
old
movie.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
earliest recorded snowfall in 100 years.
Oh my God. Of
That's a
course.
story right there for your film, huh?
I
Yeah,
know, right?
naturally.
So, and we had a very tight schedule. We had 12 days to shoot this thing, so we just
Wow.
dropped some scenes and went out and reshot some stuff, and it's now a beautiful winter movie. But you have a color palette picked out, you've got locations picked out based on
Hmm.
this the beautiful colors that are there, and then all of a sudden, like, none of that freaking matters because it's white. And now
Yeah.
you your color palette's out the, you just go with it.
Wouldn't it be
So
nice to see the colors?
I know. And we have 3 days of beautiful footage that we just scrapped. So,
Oh,
but it worked. It added this, this very monotone. I mean, it became a character within the movie. So the snow definitely. I mean, it was constantly snowing, almost obnoxiously, but it also looked so pretty.
Yeah.
Watching the dailies. So it was a fun experience. It's taken a while for us to get through the post process, and we're finally wrapping that up. And 2 years later, we'll have a final cut of the movie by this fall. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, so with Headwaters Entertainment, we started doing some workshops in partnership with the Upper Midwest Film Office last year. And through that and the Catalyst Content Festival, we met our business partner, Carl, and he really loved the idea of, what we were doing with our company and with Northern Minnesota and the rebates. And it all just sort of it was like a kismet match. It just worked. So the three of us plus Megan Huber and Wyatt McDill decided to get together and form Lost 40 Studios. And we took over studio space in Chisholm, and have just sort of been working with, like I said, working with vendors to build relationships so that their resources are rebatable, and continuing to do the workshops to train in more crew. It's a long process. It's not like overnight we're going to have an entire crew base up there. You guys know this. It's like you gotta start at the bottom and sort of work your way up. But with that, we also have to have production in order for those people to continually work to justify leaving their 9-to-5 jobs.
Yep.
So there's a lot of pressure to continue to keep production going, but also we got, from the production end of things, they want, if you have $1.5 million budget, you want to maximize that 70%. So you want to hire as many local people as you possibly can. And that's just sort of a thing that we're up against right now, is getting those people trained and going.
right.
So,
Yeah. So I want to just get into the weeds a bit with Bow Brothers. Because I know what it's like, no budget indie feature, and
I call it out of pocket indies.
Yeah. Okay, I prefer either micro budget or no budget. So
yeah,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it's exactly.
Especially in northern Minnesota when it snows at record pace, and it's almost like you can film the documentary too of making it. So in the post process, because there's obviously challenges with 12 days of filming, that alone, but I know there's a lot of things that you have to get through in post. Like for you, what is it? Is it like the story? Is it cutting it? Is it sound? What is it for you? What?
All of the above. Well, I mean, like I said, we lost some footage because of the non-snow scenes that we shot. So we had to go back and do some special effects stuff in post to add some snow in.
Oh wow!
Not a lot. There was only I think one scene that we added some snow in the foreground a little bit. That was it. The rest we were able to shoot and fill in the blanks with some drone footage. The whole post process is, it's one of the most expensive parts of filming, is getting it edited, colored, going through the sound mix. I mean, it took a while. In between that, I had my son. So for about 6 to 9 months last year. I was pretty tied up with that, and still tied up with it, but still able to get through some of the stuff. I think the edit was the longest process that we had, just getting the cut that we wanted to tell the story that we wanted. The script is one edit, the edit is a whole other edit, and then, it just sort of it evolved over time. It's definitely not the script that we wrote, but it's the story that we wanted to tell. So it worked out.
That's good. That's good that the story is, consistent from beginning to end, like the main points that you want to hit with the story. What is it about, if I may ask?
Bow Brothers is a story about two brothers who are sort of estranged. The older brother, Mitch, my character, has been estranged from the family for about 10 years. Their father dies. He didn't have a will, so Mitch is sort of called home, and while they're trying to figure out all the legal stuff and with, who gets what, the family took an annual bow trimming trip every year together. It was sort of a thing that they did. And that's a thing that I did growing up in northern Minnesota. So balsam boughs, people go out, they trim them, they sell them to wreath making companies. And it's sort of a little economy up there. And I've always been really fascinated with the stories of the unknown, right? Like just telling something so simple like that. But, do you guys think about where a Christmas wreath comes from? Like, it's just one of those things that I kind of love exploring. So the two brothers go on this trip together. They kind of hash through some things. They catch up. They have a little bit of a tussle, as brothers do. They learn a little bit more about each other. It's just kind of a small town family drama. I'm really doing a terrible job. Thank God I'm not the one doing the elevator pitch, right? It's just I want to exploit northern Minnesota in a good way. And the only way I know to do that is through storytelling. I think there's just some fascinating things that we take for granted these days that we don't really step back and think about, right? Like wild rice. Like you get a bag of wild rice, you're like, great, that tastes good, right? Where did it come from? That's what I think. Like, what was the process that went into that? And can you build a story around something as simple as that? And the answer is yes. So that kind of, it's how Bow Brothers came up. Plus, we were all sitting around twiddling our thumbs in 2020 and just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And it was a simple enough story that we were able to accomplish that. So
that's fantastic.
Did I give you guys enough information about it?
I think so. Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely. I think you did a very good job. So you should not be hard on yourself.
Thank you.
So taking a step back, again, really looking at your career, all the movies that you've been a part of, made, whether it's as an actor, as a PA, as a producer, just like the wide range of roles that you have really mastered. Can you tell us about maybe a couple of your favorite moments or favorite films that you've been able to be a part of, and why those really stand out for you?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess, and some of those, I guess the being on the set of Wilson as Woody Harrelson's stand-in, that was a really cool experience just because, you don't really think about a stand-in as a big role in a project, but it is. Like
it's fun.
It's fun. And I got to see, that was really the first time that I had seen a big Hollywood production and big. It was like a $5 or $10 million project, but to me
Mm-hmm.
that was like, wow, you see all the departments working. And
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point, that's when I started to think about wanting to be in production more, is because
Mm-hmm.
you're just sitting there and watching
Yep.
everybody work and seeing how many, how many
How many
people
unions have to talk to each other at the same time?
exactly unions. But just how many gears to make that machine run. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to work with Fred Elms, who is David Lynch's DP for years, and
Mm-hmm.
just just a nice, incredible human being. And then getting to hang out with Woody and all those folks was kind of fun. I think really so being a stand-in on that brought me out to LA to be a stand-in on a Amazon show called The Last Tycoon, and I
Oh.
was completely mismatched as a stand-in, but I guess that pays to know people out in LA.
Huh?
I was Matt Bomer's stand-in, he's
Really?
six. Yes, I know, right? He's 6'1" with black hair, and I am not.
Yeah.
But I I got to be on this incredible shoot. Like the
Mm-hmm.
sets that they built were all from 1930s Hollywood era. Everybody's
Oh.
wearing like we're on shooting on the Paramount lot. Everybody's wearing the old, 1930s wardrobes, and all they brought out all the gear that you would use in a old Hollywood movie. It was so cool to just and have backdoor access to some of these historic places in LA. It was a really cool experience. For bigger projects, those were definitely the highlights. Bow
Mm-hmm.
Brothers was to me was one of my favorite things I've been able to work on, because it's a story that I wrote, and then co-wrote the script with my business partner Nick, and it was such a creative collective experience. And I don't feel like you get that enough on projects. I feel like it's well, here's the script and I'm the director and I'm the
Mm-hmm.
producer. This was really like everybody just kind of had a creative input into it, and that's what I really I really like about this industry is we have that opportunity. We can be a collective group and work together on projects. So those are some highlights. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed but the differences of that now that you've kind of seen both worlds of like higher end multi-million productions versus like lower indie, maybe whatever you have in your pockets type of production? And like, what are kind of the contrasts and similarities between the two, if any?
Ooh.
Like
Well, similar.
creatively or like we
Well,
mentioned, kind of like unions and such.
yeah. I mean, the bigger the budget, the more people the more personnel you have. If you have to, you go union, and then you have to work with the unions. That can be a beast in and of itself. But for good reasons, they exist for good reasons. Um, there, the similarities really are: you get a script, you have production people that you hire to do jobs, and you create a project. It's just the bigger the budget, the more people you have, the more money you have to spend towards locations, actors, more experienced gaffers, grips, DP. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
the differences are just more versus less, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, like, have you, like, what's the difference now with, the fact that COVID is happening, and how are those situations now handled differently than, like, obviously production beforehand, but like,
Especially up north.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of COVID protocols on set that you have to follow, especially if you're going union. And even if you're not going union, I always tell people to still follow the guidelines because, one person gets sick, 10 people get
Yeah.
sick, and your production shuts down. So
Hmm.
follow the guidelines, test people, wear masks. It sucks. Nobody likes to do it, but it's the best way to move forward if you want to get your production done successfully. But up north, it was challenging during the first project we shot up there. The testing supplies were in high demand at that point, so finding the supplies, we had to go through a local drugstore, which was not as cost effective as going through, say, an outfit in the metro that actually does onset COVID testing.
Hmm.
The difference is we're 3 hours north, so having that outfit up there, we're paying not only their day rates, but we're also paying lodging, everything else that goes along with it. So, and then just managing the testing times when you're a smaller production, you basically, there's different zones that you're supposed to test for, that have different testing times, different testing days. We essentially just decided like everybody's going to be zone A. We're all kind of quarantining together while we're filming this thing. So everybody tests it on the same day. So you have to account for that into your schedule. And, you got people backing up. And then if somebody tested positive, then you have to go through the whole, it's a lot
Yeah.
more now. And I think that it's starting to get a little bit more lenient on set, as far as the testing protocols go. But I think it's always going to be a thing now. We're going to be hyper aware of health and safety on set.
Hmm.
Not that it wasn't before, just it's evolved, right? And we have to just kind of evolve with it.
Yeah. Which I
Yeah.
think makes sense
And
either way.
yeah, and your budget evolves. It gets more expensive.
Just another factor.
I was just reading the latest Jurassic Park movie. I think they spent like 20 to 27 million dollars on testing alone. That's just like,
Oh my God.
was it worth
Yeah.
filming during the pandemic? I mean,
Wow.
I guess.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
wild. I would have never assumed that it would be that much. But I suppose on a production where you
Yeah.
have just an astronomical amount of people kind of coming in, coming out, and having to, you know,
Test daily. Yeah.
yeah, you need to
Yeah,
rely on being there.
10% to 30% of
Wow.
your budget goes towards that.
Wow.
It's pretty intense. So
Oh, wow.
Wild.
So
yeah.
that on top of contingency and
Mhm.
uh okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for the info,
Yeah.
Matt.
Heads up.
Oh,
Alan's
it's really
jotting that down.
20% now. So okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean,
Hmm.
N95 masks, they're not cheap.
Oh
And
yeah.
and you can't wear the same mask every day. You have
Hmm.
to everybody gets a new mask every day. So you're burning through boxes and boxes of those.
Yeah.
And the antigen testing, that takes up time, and time is money, and they also cost money. So,
Mm.
and you can't just do antigen testing, then you have to do, gosh, I know way too much about this stuff. It's
No,
So
this
you're
is
a
good
pro.
to
You could write
know.
like a little pamphlet.
Yeah.
yeah,
A
right.
pamphlet, yeah.
That's
Share
not
it with
going to
all
happen.
Of
I
all
do
the
not
things
have
to
I do
do.
not have time for that.
Just a 3-page.
So,
Come on, Matt.
so thinking about your time, like you've got two kids and you've got businesses that you're constantly, again, I mean, even working from home, they keep you busy, let alone when you have to drive 3 hours to work there. Do you have like dream projects or like next projects that you're kind of keeping in the pipeline that you're really excited about being able to eventually kickstart, or have you not really had the time to necessarily plan anything for coming up lately?
No, no, we were going to start production on a film called Junk, and it's a project that Nicholas Swedlin wrote many years ago, and we met over. I actually did a script reading for him at I don't know, it was 2016, some TC's Twin Cities Film Festival event.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to talking, and I realized he wrote that for northern Minnesota. And so we just kind of got together. So it's been in development for about 6 years. And
Wow.
we were gearing up to shoot this summer. But, as many projects, it's financing that always is an issue. And we realized we needed more money. So we pushed out a year. And that's the plan, is to still go forward with it starting next year. And then our partners have projects as well that we all want to work on. And so I think it's just like collectively, the five of us have projects that we want to do. And Nick and I have just been compiling projects over the years. And, that's kind of the dream, is that we're working on our own things through the studio. But it is fun to work on other projects in the meantime. You learn a lot from other producers that come in that have, years and years of producing experience. I still feel like I'm green when it comes to producing. I'm always learning something new, and from different markets too. So trying to take all that knowledge and sort of make it our own and apply it to northern Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us about that. Like for Minnesota, like is there a department or something that we're lacking in that could use more of a boost, you'd say? Not just maybe northern Minnesota, but in general, like where are the gaps?
This is where I could get in trouble.
What are the challenges?
That's okay. I provoked you into it, so
it's your fault, Alan.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Yes,
they can write the complaints to Film in Minnesota at gmail.com. So
no, I don't think we'll get
that way. We know we're getting ratings, or whatever. It's not ratings, I guess, but someone's listening.
I'll just say my personal opinion and experience. We have a thriving market here, but it's mostly a commercial market. So a lot of our grips and electrics and camera department guys and gals, it's they want to work on the commercial stuff because that's what they've been used to for so many years. So when an indie comes to town with the rates, a quarter or half of what they're used to making, they want to go with where, the consistent work is. And I totally understand that. But we need more of those people. We need more grips. We need more gaffers. We need a lot. And, training just in northern Minnesota, we really need to broaden that to Minnesota as a whole. Because, we can all go to school, and I went to school for writing and directing. Great. You get out of school, like, okay, I'm a director. What's that mean, right? I think we definitely need to put more emphasis on training production staff, office production assistants, production coordinators, production managers, line producers, G&E departments. Locations is a big one too. We have the list. We need more. That's it. I'm just going to summarize.
One of everything, more. Please. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And 10 of this. Yeah, because it is tough when you have a project that is, and this is from experience, you've got a $2 million project that wants to shoot in Duluth, and they're trying to hire as many local people as they possibly can, but there's not enough line producers or production managers, or there is, but they're not going to pull away from doing their normal commercial gigs to work on that production because it's longer form, more time, and less money. But there are some, like myself, I'm more passionate about doing narrative feature work or narrative series work than I am working on a Target commercial.
Yes.
And hopefully they don't hear that. But
That's all right. They're not listening to this podcast, so
Yeah.
I think we across the board just need to put more time into training that. And the schools that we have around here are great, but I don't think you need a 4 year, and this is just my own personal opinion. I don't think you need a 4 year degree to work in production. I think it's trial by fire. Like you're either going to last a 14-hour day, 3 weeks straight, or you're not. And that's just the way it goes with independent film. So I just think, introducing individuals to that life right off the bat, and that what we've been doing with the workshops, it's a prime example. We write a short film, or we work with other filmmakers that have a short film, and we spend 3 days doing that film, and it's 10 to 12-hour days. And everybody that comes in as a student cycles through different departments, and they get an idea of what it is, and they're long days, and you're trying to make your day, and also making it a teaching experience. So I think if you can, we've had some people go, yeah, it's really interesting what you guys do. Good luck. And like, this was such a cool thing that I just did with you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Space Camp. Yeah.
Yes, never going to do this again.
What a dream.
Have you had the opposite though? Like, have you gone through, let's say in the workshops and as you're training people, have you seen moments where you can really tell something is sparking in a person? You're they get it. They're going to want to stick with it. And that passion is really starting to come out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We've had several, people from our workshops now are working on the projects that we're doing up north, 3 projects deep in this year. And I know a group of them just got together and shot their own short film recently, which is really cool to see. I mean, would that have happened without without that sort of group getting together in the beginning and finding some sort of, they didn't maybe know that film was their thing. They just wanted to try it out. And now they just shot a short film. It's pretty cool to see that.
That's a great story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys made that happen. Sparking passion and connecting people.
And connecting people. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a big part of it. A lot of people I know come on here and they talk about how great the film community is here. But like you've mentioned, that's something that needs to expand. So I think that's a huge input, what you guys are doing in the state, and specifically in areas in the state where it really does need to happen. So that's huge.
Yeah, I think we have an amazing community, and I wish sometimes, and I might be wrong too, I wish sometimes it was a bit more of a collective community than it is, because I do feel like there's a lot of people going for the same things, but collectively together we could accomplish more than one person trying to do it in this group and one person, it just, I feel like there's more we could do, but also we're limited because, right now the way the industry is, it's a lot of it is controlled by rebates. Bigger Hollywood productions look for states that have really sexy incentives, and we just don't. And we have some
yet.
We don't yet.
Yeah.
It has been an uphill battle because it is constantly something that's on the table and then kind of gets pushed to the side. We're at a good place right now. St. Louis County has their own rebates. The IRRB area has their own rebate. The Minnesota tax credit's doing fairly well right now. I think 3 or 4 projects have been through that. I wish we had a higher pot for the state rebate, the cashback rebate, but that's just not the reality.
Right.
But with the county and with the IRRB area, they're seeing where that money is being spent. We're able to go after every production and show okay, $40,000 went to this, Chisholm Inn and Suites, or, $20,000 was spent at this drugstore for testing supplies. And like those numbers mean a lot, because you're looking at a month that money was spent in a community that doesn't see that sort of money being spent all the time.
Right.
So it's making an impact. And, I'm just a little, I'm impatient.
Trailblazer. Come on. He wants it now. So, yeah, but I mean, imagine those, well, maybe not the rebates, but maybe the tax incentive, upped more, and then the rebates fill a bit, more, fill up a bit more, so that we can expand it to where the network is, like the cities, and then get people out of the 9 to 5 into film full-time, full-time film. Because I think there's a lot of thirst for that, if you will. So I think people want that, but that's why we're losing so many people to LA or Chicago or Atlanta, so it's just, that's the reality. So
yeah, those that want to work consistently are going to go to markets that are working consistently.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. We need to extend the sunset on some of the stuff, and we need more money in those pots in order for it to be as attractive as other markets. And, realistically, like, we're never going to be Georgia because we don't have that year-round climate, but we can be something different. I mean, a lot of the projects that we worked on wanted snow, and, the projects that we're looking at ahead, they want snow. So we have plenty of it.
Sometimes even in October.
Yeah. Hopefully not this year.
Right.
I really hope not.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it went away right after we wrapped up Bow Brothers. It was just like, thank you.
That's insane. So unfortunate. But added a good, added something really, really beautiful to your film. Excited. You'll have to keep us up to date and let us know once that's like officially good and available to watch, because I am interested for sure.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Matt, can you tell us what's next for you?
Yeah. I mean, we've got several projects that are potentially going to shoot here. Right now, for us, it's putting budgets together for these outside projects so that they can understand like the Minnesota versus LA's budgeting. So there's one in October that we're looking at right now, and then several starting in 2023, and two of which are, fingers crossed, our own internal projects right away in the spring and summer. So that's kind of what's next. I'm taking a vacation with my kids in a week, and I'm stoked to go out to South Lake Tahoe and take a little break.
Tahoe's amazing.
Yeah, it's the perfect time of the year to go. So that's like in the immediate future. But yeah, filling in some time with a couple other smaller projects. That's about it. I got to get this studio up and going though, like the actual
physical.
The physical studio needs some love and time, and I haven't been able to devote a lot of that to it. So I'm excited to see what happens over this winter and building it out a little bit more. And so I got some big plans and ideas to hopefully execute.
Good.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And on that note, where can people find your work or support your endeavors and such here?
Lost40studios.com is our studio email and website. And then if you want to check out any of our work from Headwaters Entertainment, I believe it's headwaters-entertainment.com. it's got
Awesome.
some of our work on there. You can also get a hold of us if you want more information on, Headwaters or Last 40. And, follow my Facebook page if you want to just see pictures of my kids constantly, because that's about all I post nowadays.
Understandably.
So
Awesome. All right. Last question. The big question. What do you want people to remember most about you?
Oh my gosh. Remember most about me.
Yeah.
No pressure. Just
right. Yeah.
The
No
Minnesota
pressure
community just listening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Minnesota community. What I want you to remember most. I guess I've been too humble, and I would like people to know me as sort of a trailblazer a little bit. I guess I have been, I need to give myself some credit once in a while, and worked really hard at getting a lot of stuff in northern Minnesota, and hopefully that will, people can remember us, Lost 40 and Headwaters Entertainment and myself for being one of those people that inspired a little bit more film outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Right.
Absolutely. Love it. I agree. I think that you are a trailblazer. Known you for a long time and very impressed with all the incredible things that you've done so far. So,
Bill Cooper's acting class.
Yep.
We were in there.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Wow.
I have a question for you guys. What's next for you?
Episode 102. That's what's next. So
yeah. Yep.
All right.
That's we're not going to Lake Tahoe. We're just doing episode 102.
Okay. Well, Godspeed.
That's it. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. Well, Matt, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out with us. This was really fun getting to chat with you. Really glad that we were able to get you on.
Yeah, thank you very much. You got me outside my comfort zone. So
that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I really, really enjoyed it.
Likewise. Thank you, man.
Yeah. And until next time, this has been Filmed in Minnesota.